What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Criminal Minds, Season 11, Episode... Didn't look it up again. I think it's Episode 9. I'm going to say Episode 9. Stick with that. But this is going to be a fairly quick review, and for the first time since I've said that, I've been saying that a lot whenever it's a bad episode of something, like Bones. I generally keep it short because I just don't want to talk about it. But in this case, it was a good episode, but there's not a whole lot to talk about. There's just two main things I really want to focus on right now because it was a really good episode. The first one is the case itself. Just it felt like it went back to kind of the shock and horror of what we're seeing, because that was a lot of what the original seasons had. It's like, what am I watching? Like, these people are crazy. And it hasn't felt like that in a long time. They've had some very bizarre cases, but nothing's felt like shocking. Like, oh my gosh, I can't watch this. This one was very, very sadistic. The guy is like torturing his victims. He lost his daughter. It was very sad too. It's not like I don't like it, but in a good way, I hate these type of episodes because it's really emotional whenever the bad guy is not a bad guy. He's just, he lost his daughter when she was little. He was sleep deprived, so he pulled over, and he's convinced that this guy with a skull tattoo on his hand took his daughter because the guy came up, knocked on his window, and next thing you know, his daughter's gone missing. And so he's kidnapping all these people, thinking that he's finally found the guy, because he's delusional at this point. But the way he tortures them for information by making them not be able to sleep, and so you get to see, like, the first guy, he goes outside, and then all of a sudden there's a helicopter, like, we have a visual, and he's like, hey, come help me. And then it cuts back, because he's still asleep, and it was all a dream. And they're just, all of them, there are only 3 victims. The first one we don't even see. That guy was already found dead, but the second one, you get to see him like being delusional, thinking that he's escaped, when in reality he's still stuck on that, like handcuffed to a pipe. But like twice he thinks that he's escaped, and he hasn't really. And it was also very sad because like they showed his wife, and she was just crying and talking about how he's never missed an anniversary, and so why would he miss? Pretty much saying he's not going to miss this one. He can't. And then they have one of his delusions shows him walking to the house and saying, "I told you I wouldn't miss this one." And his wife like holds up a gun, like, "Why didn't you just give him the information?" And then it flashes back, and the guy is holding a gun to his head and shoots him and kills him. And so that was harsh. And then the main bad guy, kidnaps another person, saying that he's finally found the guy. And it was almost kind of like, there's a moment when he thinks that he's grabbed a gun from him and like shoots at him, and it cuts back and he's not even holding a gun. That was crazy. And then there's this, like, the guy, the bad guy's coming back to torture him some more, and he like hits him with a chain and like knocks him down and runs outside. I'm like, oh, is this another delusion? And the whole time I'm thinking this is just a delusion, and he's actually outside. And it shows the FBI at the very end coming in to stop the bad guy. But just the fact that you never know what's real and what's not now, that's terrifying to think about. If you're in that situation and you escape, but you didn't really, because it was all just a delusion because you were so sleep deprived because this guy would not let them sleep. That's crazy to think about. And it felt like going back to the original, what Criminal Minds used to be, what it kind of the eerie and just disturbing picture of what could happen in a situation like this. But the other thing I want to talk about, I will give a slight mention at the end to what's going on, the overall plot. But the second thing that really needs to be focused on is the guy with the skull tattoo in his hand. Whenever the case ends with JJ, she gets a call from, I think maybe Garcia, can't remember, but saying that the police had found Tatiana's body, the guy's daughter. They found her corpse, and so when they confront him, she's like, you were there. It was a week ago, and they do a little flashback and show him in the desert near the rest stop, and they found her body. They found her corpse there. And so, that's what caused him to go crazy, because he didn't want to believe that she was actually dead. And that's kind of, it ends with him being shot, because he was about to, like, run over some more people on his way to save his daughter that's already dead. But, he is shot and killed, and then they go to the plane, have a good chat, and then I'm just like, really, that's it? Like, they're not going to find out why his daughter died? And then Lewis asks Hotch, what do you think happened to the daughter? And he says, well, they're saying that, the daughter climbed out of the back because there's no child lock on there, and in the desert, the cold temperature, there's no way she could have survived. And it was fairly close to the rest stop, so it wasn't like she'd walked by herself a long way, but she may have been just walking and then got lost, and then died because of the cruel conditions of the desert. And I was like, oh, okay, so they did address it. And then it shows, like, Lewis is like, this guy is adamant that a guy with a skull tattoo on his hand knocked on his window. And Hotch is like, well, it's the men with ghosts in their brain that are the worst to deal with. But then it flashes to Jackson, Mississippi. And I can't remember where they were, but obviously in the desert somewhere on the west side. And it flashes to Jackson, Mississippi, and this mother and her daughter pull over in the pouring down rain, and then it shows a guy pulling up behind him in a van. He gets out, knocks on the window, he's got a skull tattoo on his hand. That, for me, just, it sold the episode for me. And I was already enjoying it because of the, like I said, the feel of it and how it felt more like Criminal Minds again. But that just, I wondered if that's what they were going to do, if they were going to show him, but it was at the very end. I'm like, so he's still out there. Like, they're not going to stop him this episode. And I love the fact that he could come back at any time. And, it doesn't show him kidnapping the girl. It just shows him knocking on the window, and it shows a skull tattoo on his hand. And so there's so many ways they could take that. And I love it when they do stuff like that. I love it when they leave stories open so they can bring it back later. And if they do it next episode, it may not be as fun. I would like to see where, they do a few more episodes, and then later on this season, like, hey, you remember the guy over in wherever who had his daughter kidnapped? We have another case, and they said guy had a skull tattoo on his hand, and like, oh, well, he was telling the truth, and then they have to track down this guy who apparently gets around. He's in the desert in the west side, now he's in Mississippi. So that'll be interesting to see who this guy is, what's the story. But yeah, so that I love how they ended that and how they left it open. But those were the two main things that just made this episode really good. There was one other thing I do need to talk about, though, because it's more stuff that I did want, and I talked about wanting it early on in the season. The Assassins. I'm gonna call them the League of Assassins because I'm a Batman fan, and I know they're not actually the League of Assassins, but I don't care. It sounds awesome. So this League of Assassins, if Garcia found out last time that they're looking for her because of her online searching equipment stuff. And so at the beginning it shows her and Hotch kind of talking about it. And I can't really remember exactly what was said, like the exact words, but it sounded like she's going into a type of protection. Like she's not allowed to leave the FBI building. And that brought up something else that needs to be mentioned because I've talked about it in the past. The humor. the humor is back. Last season, there was so little interaction with the team, um, and so it left hardly any time for jokes. It was all just seriousness, seriousness all the time. But you get a bit of humor in this one. You get at the beginning, JJ is like dead, almost dead asleep, um, and Morgan is like talking about. So what did you and I can't remember his name now. Late night last night, maybe a little wine, a little movie, and maybe a little hanky panky. Just like hanky panky. Just the fact that Morgan even said hanky panky is hysterical. But of course, it's the two kids that she's having to deal with. But then you've got Garcia. Whenever she's going into this protection, like she has all this stuff at home that she needs because she's weird like that. She needs all this stuff, or else she won't be able to sleep. Blah blah blah. And so Hotch is like, write down what you need, and she like starts writing, keeps writing, keeps writing. She's like, who's gonna get it? And he names whoever it is. Oh, he won't know what that is. Whatever, I'll write it anyway. And just keeps writing, and that was funny. And then at the end, when they're in the plane, you got JJ who's like nearly asleep again, but she's like looking on her phone at something. And you got Morgan Rossi sitting next to her, and Morgan's like, last time I talked to Reed about cell phones, he said, and then he puts on like a Reed impersonation. The blue screen on cell phones actually keeps people sleep deprived. And then Rossi's like, actually, wouldn't it be more like this? And does something with his hands and mimics him. And that was hysterical. And then JJ is asleep, like works every time, fist bump. It was funny. And I love that because this show is so dark and depressing when you think about it. When you think about all the serial killer stuff going on, the people that have died, you need a bit of humor to kind of be able to watch it. Not that it's completely unwatchable, but it really does kind of get to you if there's no humor at all. If it's just a completely dead and emotionless episode, it really starts to affect you. You can't watch the show this often without having some humor in it, without lightening the mood a bit, because it really can depress you. And so I like the fact that they're bringing that back. There's more interaction with the team. There's more emotion there. You get a few chuckles, and obviously they don't do it at the wrong time. They don't have these moments right after. They don't. There's this huge gunfight, and then somebody makes a one-liner at the end of the gun. They don't do stuff like that. It's always they're on the plane heading away from this place. They've already solved the case, and so they know when to do the humor. They don't do it in the middle of the action like some shows do. So another good thing about this episode, but it's just this season in particular, they've brought back that, and it's helped the season a lot to bring back that kind of the playful spirit between them. Other things worth mentioning, they brought back Lewis for this episode. I don't know where she was last week. And then Reed's not here because he's visiting his mom. So I don't know if they're going to bring him back next. It feels like, I don't know if they didn't have the budget to pay for the whole team to be there. But if you think about it, there's always been one member missing. The first few episodes it was JJ. And then last week they brought JJ back. And so Lewis was gone. And then this week Lewis came back. Now Reed's gone. I'm like, did they do this on purpose? Like, did they not have the budget to pay everybody? I don't know what the deal is, but it feels like there's always one member of the team missing every single week. They never had the full squad in. So, but yeah, good episode, really, really good episode. Probably the best of the season so far. I like the story. I like everything they can do from here after this, and I like the fact that they're furthering the assassin storyline a bit more without really focusing on it. They're just giving it the time that it needs to progress, and they're not completely ignoring it. So, really great episode. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you at the next review. Peace out.